Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the NFL Picks. As you see, we got the four horsemen. We're missing another one, but shout out to Tyler Ingram. Guys, how y'all doing today?
Pretty damn good. Can't complain.
Yeah, pretty much. The crazy thing about this from what I'm looking at is based off of last week, the winners are on one side, the losers are on another side, unfortunately. It's just how it's set up, craziness. But without welcome to the shout out to the NFL Picks. As you see, it's streaming on Philly Jim's YouTube channel and of course my Facebook. But welcome in, come in, let's take a look. Let's talk about it right now. You got the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Denver Broncos. Kansas City stayed on top. They are still 4-1. Looking pretty decent. Travis Kelce had a little bounce back week, as you know, as opposed to having not exactly the best week against the Jets, but they came back and came on top. Denver. I don't know what's going on with Denver, but something is not happening because I think they took another loss this past week.
They did.
So, with that being said, gentlemen, I'm going to turn it to you, James. Who do you you think is going to win and why?
It's obviously the Chiefs. When you talk about this quote-unquote rivalry, which I'm seeing the banner says rivalry showdown, it should be in quotation marks rivalry because the Kansas City Chiefs have won 15 straight games against these Broncos, and Patrick Mahomes is 10-0 against them. So Mahomes has never lost to them either. This team is bad. They're in shambles. If it wasn't for the Bears, Chicago Bears blowing a 28-7 lead, then we would actually be talking about the Denver Broncos sweating 0-17. We really would, because when you look down the schedule, is this team even going to win another game this season? I don't know with the way this team is playing. It's not good. And, yeah, I just think the Broncos are a mess, and the Chiefs' dominance is going to continue over them, and they're going to win their 16th in a row against Denver.
I was talking on mute. No, but you make some great points, though. They've been losing since before Patrick Mahomes. They've been losing with Alex Smith at quarterback. Yep. So it's definitely a team that seems to be psychologically going down against this team. But, Dom, do you think Denver has a chance?
Absolutely not. Wow. I know that KC has owned them for the most part for several years now. I didn't know about 15 in a row, but then I think back. Well, that's got to go all the way back to probably Peyton Manning even. Yeah. Tail end of Peyton Manning.
2015 was their last one. Peyton Manning's last year. And Peyton Manning really wasn't that good that year.
This is yet another one of those. Oh, no, not at all. This is yet another one of those two teams headed in opposite directions matchups. And, if you recall, 2 years ago in the offseason when Denver acquired Russell Wilson, I said it was a failure, and it was. And then when they doubled down and used what was left of salary cap and whatnot to get Sean Payton, I said that wasn't going to work either. And surprise, surprise, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I can remember for all those years, people were like, oh, yeah, Russell Wilson, he's just like Drew Brees. No, he is not. He just isn't. And it's funny to me. Like, I don't hate Russell Wilson, but I really do like being right about things.
Yeah.
Especially when people are struggling mightily. Like, I have no love for the Broncos. It's hilarious to me, though, because for as badly as John Elway muffed quarterback pick after free agent acquisition, after trade, to the point where they were like, hey, either quit or we're going to fire you, and we don't want to do that. So he quit, or, he stepped out of the GM role, and now they're doing that much worse with quarterbacks. It's hilarious to me. I would rather have Drew Lock.
I mean, we'll probably talk about Denver's woes down the line, but I will say food for thought. It does seem like maybe that people bit more than they can chew, thinking that, oh, Sean Payton's just going to fix things automatically. And they may have approached the season thinking that, okay, it's going to figure it out on time. But I say that to you, Jay. Is it going to be a competitive game if you think the Chiefs are going to win, or do you think the Chiefs will win handily?
Handily, man. This may as well be the tank for Caleb Williams sweepstakes, and Denver should be in the front running. Keep Caleb Williams near the Pacific. Have him just move from LA to Denver and have him take a. Because you know what? I'll tell you this much. Denver, it's been a quarterback carousel, and it's been bad backup after free agent, after bad backup at the free agent. And it's like they just can't go in the first round and draft a quarterback of the future. Look, at least when the Texans did it, they still was kind of sort of, making the playoffs, But Denver, they're just down bad in this one. This game versus the Chiefs is not going to make it any better. Chiefs win 16 in a row. I'm going to say 35-7. And that 7 may come in garbage time.
So it's interesting, you got a point, because to me, divisional games, honestly, I don't know. But for this one, it very well could lead into that. What I will say that gives me pause and makes me think it may be a competitive game is that the Chiefs have been having their own set of woes as well. They're not looking like the dominant Chiefs that we have seen over years take this Denver Broncos team. Interesting about Elway, because when Elway brought Peyton Manning over, it kind of felt like everybody gave him the GM of the year and the GM of the century, honestly, because Peyton came over, 13-3 first year, miss the Super Bowl, come back, get to the Super Bowl, give a come back, and kept winning. But Peyton Manning was like the starting point for him, because he didn't want Tim Tebow. He inherited Tim Tebow. As soon as he could get rid of Tim Tebow, he got over here. But back to the game. I think the Chiefs are going to win, but I think it's going to be a much more difficult game just because, as I said it earlier, they're not looking as crisp as what you would expect a team like them to be. I still think they have questions at wide receiver. Their tight end he's Nick, but he's coming along. What does help them is that they, of all people, actually believe in their run game now. They actually believe in running the football, and that's because they have a talented running back in Isaiah Pacheco. With that said, yep. I got the Chiefs winning. I got the Chiefs winning 28-24 because I think that Denver's offense can at least get something going on Kansas City's defense. But Kansas City's defense is predicated on the pass rush. You can neutralize the pass rush, you have a better chance of breaking them down, which is exactly what happened with New York Jets when they faced Zach Wilson. So with that being said,
hold on, Joseph. I just got one thing I wanted to add to this conversation before we move on from this topic. I just want to explain the reason why I don't have any respect when it comes to Sean Payton as a coach, because in the off season he was saying stuff about how, well, Nathaniel Hackett just had like the worst coaching job in the history, yet you're actually not doing that much better than he was. So I was actually very happy for the Jets winning this game and giving Nathaniel Hackett with the game ball in the locker room. I thought that was awesome. But I just don't have any respect for Sean Payton. He likes to talk, but he doesn't back up his talk. And when he's confronted about it, he tries to shy away from it. So that's all I got to say.
That to me is somebody, what you're just saying right now, and we'll get into the next game, which is both Russell Wilson and Sean Payton are getting humbled. You got to think, they come from the Saints, they come from the Seahawks, winning organizations. Russell Wilson had been in the playoffs ever since the rookie year. So he wasn't used to not making the playoffs. And Sean Payton has been regarded since turning the Saints around when he and Drew Brees got together after Hurricane Katrina. So after that, they've been in very good situations where they were pretty much thought to be set for life. And now they're coming to a team, and it's almost like you got to go back to your roots. With that being said, we'll take it to the first game on Sunday. Ironically, I have to get up early again, just because we have the Baltimore Ravens against the Tennessee Titans in London, where the Ravens, I believe, and the Titans have both played before, but the Ravens have played a couple times against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, both teams have a lot to prove. Both teams have a lot to prove. We start with the Ravens. The Ravens were a team that, in my opinion, I'll say this. If you watch Yu-Gi-Oh!, Lamar Jackson right now is like Joey Wheeler. He has heart. He makes some great plays. He makes some bomb plays, but sometimes luck is against him, and sometimes he makes a bonehead decision that doesn't think through. Like when we saw in the beginning of Yu-Gi-Oh! With Joey Wheeler versus Rex Raptor, where he wasn't always thinking through in the beginning, but he figured out, or against Bones in the graveyard. nice Yu-Gi-Oh reference, but I say that to say is the Ravens are trying to bounce back after a game that they should have won. If you watch the game, there was the beautiful passes that were dropped, but the Ravens themselves still had chances to win. They just couldn't close out. Now, in terms of the Tennessee Titans, they're still figuring it out. However, DeAndre Hopkins is starting to pick up some traction, but it's coming null and void because the Tennessee Titans are in a division that is not necessarily really good, and they themselves are not the poster boys for greatness. So I will pass it to you guys before I make my pick. James, who do you think is going to win? Will it be Joey Wheeler and the Lamar Jackson Ravens, or will it be?
You gotta stop. You gotta stop.
Or will it be?
You gotta stop.
Will it be? Hold on. No.
Lamar is not no Joey Wheeler. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, the Ravens are gonna win they're gonna win this football game. I think that the Ravens' last performance was a little bit concerning with Lamar. Having that turnover in the red zone, not good. Lamar needs to step it up. He needs to have a Lamar game that we're used to seeing, because I don't really want to say that he's been playing bad this season, but I want to see that signature performance of him being the player that we know that he can be at the end of the day. But when I'm looking in the Titans, I'm not seeing that this team is so good. Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins, Ryan Tannehill, I think the success of this team is very limited. Like, they don't really have a ceiling of what they can be. So I think that with Baltimore, they have to play the style of football that they know how and be mistake-free, and they will win for sure.
Okay. So when I get to my section, I'm going to break it down about the Wheeler thing. But, Dom, who do you have? Do you have the AFC South Tennessee Titans prevailing, or do you have the AFC North Baltimore Ravens going to 4-2? Hold on, before you answer, I will ask no.
It's the Ravens, and I'll take it a step further. I'll put it.
What'd you say?
Go ahead, I'm listening.
No, I'm saying you said you were taking.
I said, go ahead, I'm listening.
Oh, I was going to say you taking a step further. I was going to come after you, but you said you're taking a step further. Go ahead, I got you. Go ahead, back it up.
How much further?
Yeah, how much further?
Yes, I've got the Ravens as my lock of the week. The Titans are awful. How they're 2-3, I don't know. Oh, wait, they beat the Chargers in overtime and a Bengals team that does not look right at all. At all. Like, it's funny because James was like, Tennessee doesn't have things figured out yet. Yeah, they don't. Other teams have them completely figured out. Ryan Tannehill is not good. Derrick Henry's tires are bald. DeAndre Hopkins apparently just wanted his career to go on the downslide because, as we know, wide receivers go to die in Nashville. Like, they have 2 wins. I don't know that they win 2 or 3 more games the rest of the year.
Interesting.
So, yeah, Ravens by at least 14, and it's my lock of the week.
So, as you guys know, we have this nice, neat segment that was presented, is that if you have a lock, actually, matter of fact, from the gentleman himself, Mr. Dom DeRubeis, that if you have a lock of the week, you're going to sit there and say it. So, Dom taking the Ravens as a lock of the week, given how he feels about Lamar, that's quite an interesting and shows how much he does not feel for the Tennessee Titans. But, Jay, what do you got?
We're going consensus Ravens on this one. The Titans, I know they've been kind of using King Henry as a secondary quarterback as of late. That's not going to work against Baltimore. I expect them to bounce back because I think, and this is just me, okay, I'm not going to say that last week's loss was humiliating per se, but the Ravens knew that they could have done a way better job. But despite how they played, I think they felt like they still had it in the bag, and all it took was 2-3 plays, and just like that, Pittsburgh was up for good, and then they were closing it out. But this is a definite bounce back game for them. I think Lamar gets it right, and they come ahead with the W. There's still questions at quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. It will stay that way until further notice. We all know who Ryan Tannehill is. Actually, DeAndre Hopkins had an okay performance last week. But no, it's definitely the Ravens in this one. I think we're all sweeping Ravens on this one. But I'm going to say Ravens 24-16.
So, about the Pittsburgh game, I knew from the way it started, that it was going to make a comeback because that's how those games go. We actually win when we have to come back. When we have to come back from them, we win. When we don't, we tend to sometimes lose. And when we get up big by 10, 14, they somehow make a comeback. But that's neither here nor there. This actually was not as easy as I thought it was going to be to sit here and pick my team, because what I will say, some teams, they can look one way one week. They go against another team, especially a team like mine who has seemed to sometimes. We keep teams in games from our own mistakes. So when I think about that, I think about who is a team that could possibly maximize on those type of mistakes. And Tennessee is a type of team like that because they still run the football. And if you have mistakes and have your defense continuing to get on side, by that second half, those 2-yard runs turn into 4, 5, 6, 7, which is actually what happened against the Pittsburgh Steelers that helped them get on track. I will say I still will go with the Ravens for this one fact. When Ravens used to play in the games in London, they used to get to London on Thursday night, and you stay from Thursday and get prepared and go there. This time they got there Tuesday night. So because they got there a little ahead of time to give their bodies a chance to get used to being 6 or so hours ahead, I'm not sure the exact amount, I will give them that edge, because I think if you don't have that, you'll look like Buffalo coming into the mix. Slow start and coming on top. I don't know when Tennessee got there, but if they both got there at the same time, I think Baltimore has a better chance of winning because they have been used to playing there in recent years. So we got all of us on the Ravens. Some of us may have us as a lock of the week, and ironically, I'm like Dom from a couple weeks ago. I think it's not going to be such a lock with my team, and I'm going to actually think that I wouldn't be surprised if we end up 3-3 just from the bat. But I got the Ravens winning. So without further ado, we're going to turn.
I also have an ulterior motive.
Okay, I'm sure. I think you got to have a motive, but I will say one day we'll break it down. One day, break it down. We got the Saints and the Texans.
I don't want us rolling into Baltimore the next week.
All right, we got to pick this up a little bit.
Right. So now we got the Texans and the Saints. And Jay, I'm gonna let you segue it off because I know the Texans had suffered a devastating defeat to the Atlanta Falcons. Can they rebound against the New Orleans Saints?
I believe that they can. I think they'll use last week as motivation, definitely. Stroud's looking good as usual. He just recently broke the NFL record for most pass attempts to start a career without an interception with 177. Got to get the running game going. The Saints are going to be riding high because they shut out the Patriots. But notice that no one really gave them high praise for it because they're the Patriots of right now. I mean, they got blown out the week before and then they got shut out. So, I mean, yeah, and I know that's a shame. I'm talking about a Bill Belichick coach team, but it is what it is. I can out front say the Texans are not the Patriots. So, can they come back and win? And I think it's fair to say that even after 4 or 5 games, a lot of people will take Stroud over Mac Jones. But I've got Texans in this one. Texans will bounce back. I'm going to say Texans 21-14. I got it a touchdown game.
Fair enough, bro. I guess I'll go next. I think the Texans are also going to win. I'm still believing in the Texans, even though did not have the best performance last week. I think Saints are a little bit overrated. I do not think that they're going to be in the playoffs. I think last week, they kind of blew their load against Patriots team that, let's face it, it's one of the worst teams in the NFL. I think Texans going to have a bounce back. They're going to win.
Okay. So you got the Texans winning. Dom, who you got? Mr. Dominic?
Texans in a nail biter. That line is probably pretty accurate. It's definitely a 1-score game. If this was in New Orleans, I would probably pick the Saints. It's kind of like James said, Saints are a little bit overrated. And the Texans are playing a little bit over their heads right now, but still to be 2-3, like how happy are you right now, Jay?
Hey, I'm still with it. I expected
I mean?
us to probably be 0-4, 0-5 right now.
Interesting. Okay.
Even if you
I'm
were
just-
0-4 or 0-5,
Well,
if I told you like the day before week 1 that your Ohio State quarterback would be going into week 6 and not throw an interception yet, you wouldn't believe me.
here's the real question. Is Houston actually playing above their heads, or is the rest of the AFC South playing below their heads? Because I would say Jacksonville has not met expectations like so far this season. Good one against Buffalo, but still not looking like the great team. And it's a very winnable division, and I think Texans are still in it.
So
I'm going to say this real quick.
Hold on.
Real quick. James, two things can be true. The AFC South is still disappointing, but I don't think anyone expected the Texans to be this good at this time.
Fair enough.
Go ahead, JJ. I'm sorry.
I was going to say you should save that for another day so we can wrap up and keep this going.
Yeah,
because that should be honestly something better. But I'm going with the Saints. I actually think that this is going to be a very tight defensive battle. I think that, but what I will say is what I saw from Bijan against this team, and I saw what Kamara is now doing with the team back. I think Kamara is going to be a difference maker as another security blanket for the New Orleans Saints. And I think this is going to be one of those low-scoring games, like 14-10, maybe 13-7-16 or so, maybe even possibly in like the first team to 10 wins. But I think New Orleans is going to get this game, and I think Houston is going to be competitive, and they're going to play well. And despite what happens with this season, I will say they kind of may have exceeded expectations coming in because people were expecting them to be OFA until like the sixth or seventh week of the season, until they face another team of their same caliber in their opinion. But I got the Saints without the lone wolf.
You got to howl.
Oh!
And then he disappears. Let's roll on to the next one.
Commanders versus Atlanta Falcons. So the Commanders were absolutely embarrassed by the Chicago Bears. Falcons coming off upset win over the Texans. Who do you guys got winning this one? And he's back.
All right, so let's go back. Let me segue this real quick because I had something prepared for this, and then we can let you guys talk about your picks.
I don't know.
Dom.
I mean, to answer that question, has Desmond Ridder finally found his game? Maybe, because as we were talking about backstage before the show, somehow magically he's able to locate his best tight end and his best wide receiver. I think both of them had more catches in this game than they've had the rest of the season combined. Like, I mean, Ritter's still not that good. And my other question is, so won't the real Sam Howell please stand up? Please stand up. Please stand up. I still don't know who to pick. It's at the Atlanta in a close one. Probably not a bunch of scoring. I got Atlanta 20-17, but I don't feel good about it.
I'm also taking Atlanta. Commanders, they played their Super Bowl game against the Eagles. But at the end of the day, the Commanders are who we thought they were. This team is not good. Not that Atlanta's particularly great, but I just think Atlanta is going to make plays to win this game. Commanders are going to lose. I got Atlanta.
Okay, so with that, can you guys hear me now, first of all?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Because I was trying to speak earlier. I was lucky y'all could hear me because nobody was listening. But with that being said, okay, you got the Commanders losing to these Atlanta Falcons. Mm-hmm. Who do you got, Jay?
I'm going to pick the Falcons. What I saw last week was very impressive, and I said it. I said that if the Falcons were going to win the game last week, the Texans were going to have to shut down Bijan Robinson, shut down Tyler Algier, and force Desmond Ridder to win with his arm. I said it on other platforms. And then what happened? Desmond Ridder beat us with his arm. You know, I'm going to take a chance on him, and I'm going to pick the Falcons, and I'm going to even go.
He actually did it.
Yes, he actually did it. And I'm going to go bold and I'm going to make this Denzel's lock of the week. Atlanta over Washington, 100%. Because like Dom said, there's still questions about Sam Howell. I still like him. Not to mention, the Atlanta Falcons are very good against the rush. I believe they actually ranked 5th or 6th. But, yeah, I got Atlanta in this one. Atlanta surprisingly 3-2, although they're in a bad division. But hey, go ahead and give me the Falcons. My lock of the week.
I'm going with the Washington Commanders because I actually think the Atlanta Falcons was a fluke, and I actually think Washington's loss. I think it's not necessarily they played bad, but I think like last year, Chicago's starting to figure out what works on their offensive side because this is the second week in a row where they've started off hot. The difference is their quarterback where Sam Howell couldn't do what Russell Wilson did, but they started to go that route. So I do think, and I don't think Atlanta's that great. And I think that the Washington defense is going to look at that game, and those guys like Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, they're going to buckle down, and they're not going to let Bijan get off, and they're going to get back to trying to wreak havoc and trying to make game-changing plays. And as far as the quarterbacks, as I said, I think a week ago, anything they do this year, rookie quarterback or first year starting, I'm not going to sit there and judge you on anything. And I think Sam Howell is going to have a better game than he did before. And I think he's going to get Terry McLaurin involved. He has a great connection with Logan Thomas. So I'll be the lone wolf, and I'm not doing the lone wolf thing again because apparently somebody called me in the middle of it. And it was a perfect lone wolf thing too. But with that being said, there you go. All right. It's a wounded. So we have the Seahawks and the Bengals. The Bengals, Mr. Man said, I'm open. I'm always freaking open. And then bust out for a 15-catch, 192-yard, 3-touchdown performance as the Cincinnati Bengals have improved and got their second win of the season as they are now facing the Seattle Seahawks, who continues to tread. They're not exactly great, but they're not exactly bad. They're in a tough division and seem to be keeping pace. So let's do it different. Let's do diagonal. Dom, do you think the Cincinnati Bengals are like Cincinnati Bengals old slow start and figuring it out? Or do you have the Seattle Seahawks with the comeback player of the year, Geno Smith, charging it up?
This is tough. What's the line? It's 3 and it's at the Bengals.
Yep.
I guess that's why I take the Bengals. I don't feel good about it. I'm not convinced that they're entirely on their way back. I don't think Joe Burrow is going to be right for the rest of the year. Seahawks coming off a bye week, correct?
Correct.
They're coming back off a bye.
Coming off a bye.
Their last win
I got
against
the Bengals in a close one.
So you have the Bengals in a close one?
In a close one, possibly high scoring. Yeah, both of those teams have great wide receiver groups. If it comes down to a matchup between the quarterbacks, obviously I'm taking Joe Burrow as much as I love you, Eugene Cyril Smith. I mean, unless K9 just runs absolutely wild, yeah, I've got the Bengals high scoring, like 38-35.
All right. So we're going to start from the north and go down south. So first off, coming from Detroit is Philadelphia. So James, who do you got?
I got the Bengals winning as well. I think that when I look at this game, the rookie corner that's been performing so well with Seattle, Witherspoon, this is the first real test going against Jamar Chase. So I just think that Jamar is going to continue the momentum that he had. And this is going to be a little bit too much for the rookie to check a guy like that. Him and Burrow have that connection. So I think the Bengals are going to win, and then they're going to start to get back to the Bengals that we were used to seeing, and maybe they can actually turn the season around.
Okay, so you got the Bengals turning it around. My mom lives in Texas, so we're going to go down to the south with Jay, and then I'll pick it up from after that. Who do you got?
Man, it was so nice to see the connect happen last week. I knew it wouldn't take long with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and they know each other better than anybody else for obvious reasons. But in this one, I'm going to take the Seahawks in a close one. I am not completely sold that Joe Burrow is okay. And I believe that the Seahawks pass rush is going to really put that calf to the test. We'll know after this week if he really is all right. But with that being said, I love K9 as a back. Lockett's going to be back, and as long as Geno Smith can make his throws, I've got the Seahawks in a close one. I'm going to say 27-21 Hawks.
I'm going to echo the same thing. I got the Seattle Seahawks because I think that while they broke out against an Arizona Cardinals team, I will take Geno Smith and his passing attack to make life a little harder than Josh Dobbs with Marquise Brown and Zach Ertz. I think DK Metcalf, one thing about the Cincinnati Bengals that seemed to be a little bit of an issue for them is that they lost Von Bell and Jesse Bates. And ever since they lost both of them, they're not being able to hold people over the top as they once more. And I think I will say I was wrong about Geno Smith. And I do believe in him with another year in this system with Kenneth Walker, with DK Metcalf, and with Tyler Lockett, and with a defense that does have Tariq Woolen and the rookie is actually playing well. So they have things on this. I just think I'm not going to think that Cincinnati is over with, but I do think that they're going to go to 2-4 after this loss against the Seattle Seahawks. I got the same score, similar, but 27-24. All right. So we all with that. So we all got half and half. Half Bengals, half Seahawks. Next, we got the Colts and the Jaguars. The Colts, can they finally beat Jacksonville for the first time since 2014? Mind you, Anthony Richardson is not playing, I believe, because I think he's out, and Gardner Minshew is now going to be starting. Gardner Minshew is a quality backup. They are looking better than people anticipated. And equally, and James said it earlier, Jacksonville, with all the hoopla coming in, has not looked good. They have not looked like a team that I think for many people, maybe I agree. I think when the season hit out, people thinking they were going to be like 4-1 or possibly 5-0 with only one loss to the Buffalo Bills coming into this game. Because I thought that because with how they played Kansas City last year, I saw people thinking that, okay, they're going to finally get them this year. So, Jay Nelson, you're an AFC South guy. This is a big, important game for your team's trajectory. Who do you have?
Jags. Like you said, Gardner Minshew is a quality backup, and the man really does hustle. With that being said, I mean the Colts, they still have a solid defense, but I just like Jacksonville's receiving core and their rushing game as well. ETN, who's been a blast to watch ever since he had been playing last season. This is his third year. He spent his rookie year out due to that, I think, a torn ACL. But I believe that the Jacksonville Jaguars do keep it rolling, and they once again deny the Colts a victory at Jacksonville since 2014. But I've got it surprisingly close, though. I may say last field goal in the last 10 seconds, Jaguars 27-24.
Dom?
I've got Jacksonville, and I don't think it's that close. Jacksonville hasn't looked quite as, I guess, as maybe we expected them to, but this is one of those games. It's funny because now I wouldn't say that they're a threat per se, but I would say Houston is the second best team in that division, and will be the ones denying Jacksonville of one or more of those extra division wins. But yeah, Gardner Minshew, come on. I think Jonathan Taylor I mean, was he back last week?
He's
Or
back.
this is his first
He
week back
was,
officially?
but he was limited. He was on a carry count.
Pitch count?
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
on the
won't
carry
matter.
count. It was Zach Moss that ran all over
As
Tennessee.
good as Ben, right. Yeah. As good as Jonathan Taylor has been in the past, he's not a difference maker for a middling team. It doesn't turn them into a playoff contender. The Jags are just better everywhere other than the offensive line. And that's why Jacksonville has struggled. For one, it's their offensive line. For two, it's a lot harder to be the hunted rather than the hunter. Lions are in the same boat. We've just played a little bit better.
Or more so now,
But I still think they both win the division, the Jags and the Lions.
Detroit was somewhat kind of a hunted last year, but now they kind of get used to, which is why they're playing a little bit better this year, because there was a lot of hype coming in with you guys last year. But that we'll discuss in another time. James Tatum, Gardner Minshew, or the Sunshine Boy, Trevor Lawrence?
Sunshine Boy, Trevor Lawrence. First of all, Trevor saying that ETN is fun to watch. These guys have been fun to watch. These guys have been playing with each other since they were at Clemson. So let's not forget that. And last week's game, the Jags showed that they played great in London. So they need to carry that to the United States. I do not know why they cannot play this great like they do over there. It's one of the most puzzling things to me. But I think it was a good win. It was a statement win for them. And I think that Jacksonville going to start to get on the right track and beat Indianapolis. And even though Indianapolis is a division game, it will be tough. It will be hard to win, but I think Jacksonville is still going to be on top.
Okay. So I will say, if it wasn't for Travis Etienne, I think Jacksonville would come into this game with a loss. Because I think a lot of last week was more to do with Buffalo not playing over there. Because I think if this was on home turf, I think Buffalo would have figured it out, not been on. But I hear you on that one. I think Jacksonville's a better team. I'm going Jacksonville for only one particular reason, because Anthony Richardson is not playing. If he was playing, due to his ability and due to them not knowing what to expect from him, I would give them a better chance of beating the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think it's going to happen this time, because I will say, I think Indianapolis Indianapolis Colts coach, his name is it Steichen? Steichen. And then you have Doug Peterson. I think coaching is ultimately, because, as I referenced last week, Doug Peterson has a game plan for the teams that he faces. And he had a great game plan against the Buffalo Bills, and I think it's going to be more of the same here. I will say, if there's a chance for Indianapolis to win, it's off their defense, because their defense is probably their best asset. But I think if their offense can rediscover Michael Pittman, they may have some chances, because Jacksonville's corners, they're decent. They're not 1,000%. They're decent. But I still got the Jacksonville Jaguars beating the Colts. All right. So I do think the Colts are covered based off of that thing. And we go to the Carolina Panthers and the Miami Dolphins. Before anybody says anything, I want to sit here and say, Carolina, you're going to figure it out eventually. This is not something you was expecting to happen. What I will say is, I think we're all consensus saying that Miami's going to win. But I think what can make this segue is that you give a little bit of an indication on how the Panthers could be competitive. We all think they're going to lose, but what is something? Give me one thing to help you be like, if Carolina has a chance to try to figure something out, what could it be against this Dolphins team? Go, James Tatum.
Absolutely nothing. There is nothing they can figure out against this Dolphins team. Dolphins going to win this game by at least 3 or 4 touchdowns. So, yep, I would say maybe next year Carolina, but you gave Chicago your first-round pick and your best receiver, DJ Moore. So, yeah, this team's going nowhere.
So, what's interesting about this, and you, Dom, that star fantasy running back is gone for 4 weeks. Does that make it a little bit less less challenging for the Panthers to defend, or do you think that they're just like James? They're not going to be competitive at all.
Well, I don't think a Shane being out matters that much. For one, like coming into the season, he wasn't even the starter. I am still absolutely shocked that he got hurt before Raheem Mostert does, because that dude gets hurt getting out of the shower. The Panthers, it is an absolute mess over there. Between, like James said, you draft a rookie quarterback, but prior to that, you trade away your number one receiver. They've got a bunch of injuries on the O-line. They also have a head coach who refuses to give up play calling duties. It's really bad in Carolina. Like bad.
Bad.
Yeah, Dolphins by a lot. The only way I'm saying that the Dolphins win by less than 30 is if the Panthers get a garbage touchdown.
And you know what? And I'll let both of y'all and Jay start and then both of y'all get it. Would you put $500 on that spread, Jay?
On this one, 13 and a half?
Would you put 500 that the Dolphins are going to win by 14 points?
Man, I take the over. This is going to be, yeah. I mean, it's this right here. There's a reason why it's a double-digit line. And to those of you all who aren't familiar with sports betting, as far as football goes, so double-digit lines are common in college football, right? Because you have big schools facing small schools and everything. So it's not uncommon to see Alabama favored over Mercer by like 35. Okay. A double-digit line in the NFL means 9 times out of 10, a team is vastly inferior to the one that they're about to play. With that being said, of course, I've got the Dolphins in this one. A-Kane being out is it should be no matter. Most of it will just get his carries, or they'll hand it to the third string running back and let him. At this point, it's just getting these guys reps. Because I mean, the Denver game, he was pulling the beer man out the crowd and scoring touchdowns on the Broncos. It might be just as bad, But the Panthers, they should have won a game by now. I don't know why they haven't, but they should have won a game. They'll eventually figure it out. I agree with JG. But for right now, Dolphins 35-3.
Interesting. So I will tell you this much. One thing I've learned about the sports bet, and I was talking, and shout out to MJ Martin as well. If something is a resounding yes, it's a no. So if it's a resounding yes that Miami is going to beat them by 14 points, I'm not going to be surprised if they win by like 10 or 7 or even something like that. Because when you have that and you have this enticing matchup, everybody bets the over. When everybody bets the over, and the last time I remember that was with earlier this season with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Kansas City Chiefs over on the points, what happened? It didn't go. Now, am I thinking I wouldn't put my $500 on this cover of the spread? I'll be very honest with you. Because I just think that everybody's going to do it.
Me neither.
And everybody's going to do it. And then because that's going to happen, I think Miami's going to come in. I think they're going to win. No doubt about it. I think they're going to win. But I think it's going to be by 10 points. I think it's going to be a game that everybody's going to be looking like, wow, you crushed Denver by 50. And Carolina? You couldn't beat them by 6? So I got the Carolina Panthers staying in this, within that 2 touchdown spread, but the Dolphins ultimately coming on top. I will say,
yeah, yes, a huge spread like that is why you don't bet.
It happens a lot, so we're going to see. It could be wrong because this reminds me of last week's spread. And actually, when I put my bet in, I thought about doing it, but I didn't, and it turned out to be right. Where the Giants spread was 12.5, and then they lost by 15, and I thought about taking that one too. But when I looked on the bets, I didn't see too many people saying, oh, yes, resounding. This one, I have been seeing it. So we're going to see. Now we're going to – no Jefferson, no problem. The Vikings, 2.5-point favorites over the Chicago Bears. So we're going to go down to Mr. Denzel Snipes as a.k.a. Denzel Washington, Forrest Whitaker, Morgan Freeman, Samuel Jackson. You name it, he is that. Jay.
Vikings. Even with Kirk Prescott or Dak Cousins, whatever you want to call them, they're still going to beat the Bears. The Bears are terrible. It just is what it is. I think that line should be a little bit bigger. I think 2.5. Giving them 2.5 is kind of, but yeah, it's Vikings. Is it bad that Justin Jefferson is out? Absolutely. But do they necessarily need him to beat Northwest? I'm sorry, the Bears, the Chicago Bears. No, they don't. Vikings. I'm going to say 28-10.
James Tatum.
I disagree. I'm gonna actually pick the Bears this week. Not only because of their performance last week, I think the Chicago Bears. This is a very winnable game for them, especially when you consider that Jefferson is out for this game, guys. So he's the biggest difference maker for the Vikings. So I have to say that when it comes to this, I think Chicago is not. I mean, they're obviously not going to go anywhere this year, but I don't think they are dead yet. I think that their next 4 games, they have some winnable games. So they're going to have a chance to do something, starting with the Vikings, and then play the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Saints their next 4 games. So when it comes to this, guys, I really think that the Bears are going to win, and people are going to be surprised when it happens. So I'm going with Chicago.
Dom, as I stated with Jay earlier, you are comfortably ahead in the division, but this is still a matchup that you as a team would watch out for. Who do you got of this NFC North battle?
It's funny because I would have picked the Vikings, but I think James just sold me on the Bears, actually, because no Justin Jefferson, and there's really not anyone else on that offense that scares me. However, I'm going to take a page out of your book, JJ, and say prop bets on TJ Hawkinson. Makes me happy because he's on my big money fantasy team. They will go to him early and often. I expect probably 10 catches, over 100 yards, a touchdown or so. Yeah, let the Bears get some more false hope and another win. These teams are both garbage. Chicago might as well go ahead and win as many games as they can, because, I mean, it's a lose-lose for them, because either they have one win right now? One, right?
They have their own pick and they have Carolina's pick.
True, but they're not getting Caleb Williams.
Right,
neither of which will get them Caleb Williams.
We don't even know. They
might as well go ahead and win a few games.
Well, we don't even know if Caleb Williams is coming out. I think we should really make sure we hold off on that, because maybe he is, maybe he's not. Who knows? But Jay, you the lone wolf here. I actually got Chicago off the rip because I think that they're not the greatest. But I think what I will say about Minnesota, it's not just TJ Hawkinson. Over the weeks, I think he's starting to trust Jordan Addison. And Addison's looking really good as a second wide receiver and a compliment. And I think he might be somebody on the prop bets to look at as well. What I will say that I do appreciate that. And look at the beautiful mango. So we're going to use that for our lone wolves from here on out, okay? Because everybody loves Mango. Mango is our beloved James Tatum son. He's a lovable creature who is my nephew, because we're brothers, and eventually he's going to become my son when I go up there and take him from him. But thank you for the shout out to Mango. But no, back to the thing. I do think Chicago is going to win. I think that they're starting to figure it out offensively. Defensively, they're bad. Defensively, I don't think they're ever going to get better at this year. But I think they figured out what they need to do to bring the best out of Justin Fields. And I think that it's going to carry them over. Do I think that they're going to turn into an elite team? Probably not. But do I think they're going to be much better offensively and possibly steal some wins in the shootout? I think so. So we all, Lone Wolf, Mr. J. Nelson, we're going to go to our next game. And we have the 49ers and the Browns. Now, be honest with you, from what if you're a revision, what's the word, revisionist history, or if you overreact, you would think this game is going to be a blowout. However, we are talking about two of the top 5 defenses on every metric going against each other with offensive lines that are built very similar. Now, Deshaun Watson is the question mark, but if he plays, who do you got, Dom DeRubeis? Or no, better yet, better question. If you think the 49ers are going to win, would you take that spread?
I would not. I think the 49ers are going to win, even if Deshaun Watson plays. I actually just saw a little bit before the show. Browns saw enough from DTR 2 weeks ago. If Watson doesn't play, they're going with PJ Walker, who once upon a time decimated the Lions in I believe his only NFL start. But yeah, I've got the Niners no matter what. Honestly, mainly because for now, Christian McCaffrey is still healthy. Like these defenses are roughly the same. I think Watson is better. I don't even think. I know that he's better than Brock Purdy, but the fact that they have no Nick Chubb, that's why the Niners win.
Yeah.
Okay.
That, and they look like the best team in football right now.
We can talk about that in a little bit. I'll be honest with you. I think they're 1A, 1B with Philadelphia. But, Denzel, who do you got? Do you think, actually, same question as Dom. If you got 49ers, you taking that spread?
Nope. I wouldn't take it. But if Watson plays, I do have it closer. But the X factor is going to be that they don't have Nick Chubb. Yes, Watson is better and is more proven than Brock Purdy, but the Niners just got probably the most complete team in football. And as long as C-Mac stays healthy, as long as they get the receivers going. Now, granted, yes, you are talking about 2 top 5 defenses, So I don't see this as a game going to 30. I'm actually going to say 24-20 Niners. I have it a little bit closer than most, but I'm going to say, so actually, you know what? If I was going within the spread, then yes, I would take it.
So you actually think they're going to win more than 5?
No, I said I got Niners 24-20, and
so you think the Browns to cover?
Yes.
Okay.
So I would take it.
So James, are you going to take that spread?
I think I will. I just have to give, until proven otherwise, I have to give the Niners the benefit of the doubt. I have to give them credit for what they've done. They've been the most consistent team. I will say this, though. This is not an easy game for them. It definitely will not be. I really want to say the Browns are going to have a chance to win this game. But I just think it's going to be a little bit of a tall task. If Deshaun does play, it's your first game back and you're coming back against a team that's rolling the way that they are. Even though you're at home, I think it's a little bit of a tall task for him. But it's definitely going to be one of the most interesting games of the week, though. But I got the 49ers.
So I'll be honest with you. I'm not taking that spread. I'll take the Browns to cover for a couple of reasons. Number one,
the over-under on combined points.
How much is it? What's the over and under for points?
The over-under on combined points is 37.5. It's the lowest in the league by like 4 or 5 points.
Let me think about that part, but I let me think on that one because we'll see on that one. But I think for a couple of reasons. Number one, shout out to Stephen Box, who's a 49ers fan. He always talks about how it's very challenging for the 49ers sometimes to win traveling the coast. And they have to travel the coast here to see this one. Number two, this defense is actually physical, and they don't talk they actually do, which is a difference between the defense that they just faced. They actually face a defense that I actually think is going to make life harder for them than Dallas did, and the offense is going to make life harder for them than Dallas's offense did. But I think this is going to be a game that San Francisco wants because they like physical football. And the reason why I think Cleveland's physical because they play in AFC North. All of us run the football. All of us like to beat you up, try to fight you and stuff like that. So if there's a team that has a good chance of at least matching the physicality outside of the Philadelphia Eagles on defense, it's the Cleveland Browns. I will say I think the Browns cover, but I have the Niners winning this game, and I do think it's going to be a rather very good defensive game. Like, the offenses are going to be efficient, but not spectacular. Like, I could see Brock Purdy having 200 yards, a touchdown, and still win the game because it's going to be an efficient game where you're going to get the first downs. But when you get to that red zone where you can run the football, which San Francisco loves to do, and Cleveland can stop the run, I think it's going to get very, very dicey down there where I think there's going to be a lot of field goals settled because defensively, they do have players that can match San Francisco's offense on every level. Micah Parsons or Myles Garrett. I know Micah's got all the fame. I know Micah's got all the amazingness. I know Micah's doing his
I'll give it to Garrett.
But I deal with Garrett twice a year. That man is a havoc. That man is somebody who has no problem going against a Trent Williams and getting the better of him. He made Ronnie Stanley sometimes look like a rookie, and it was during Ronnie Stanley's All-Pro year. So it's definitely something I think is going to play a factor, but I got the Niners winning. We're all aboard with them, but mixed reviews on who's going to cover, who's not. I will say, James, you're the lone wolf in thinking that the Niners are going to win by at least 6. So with that being said, we go to the next game, and whoa, you know what's funny about this game? At the beginning of the century millennium, this game would have been legendary. This game would have been epic because the Raiders and Patriots back in the day were dominant teams, but now they're not anymore. Belichick has benched Mac Jones twice. I don't know if he's starting coming into this game, but if he is or if he isn't,
he's starting.
So he's starting again. You got both teams that, while one looked horrible and got benched again in the Patriots, but then you have the Raiders who beat the Packers and actually looked in the second half pretty good, pretty decent. And they looked pretty decent, but James Tatum, Jimmy Garoppolo, or Mac Jeezy Jones?
Give me porn star Jimmy. I'm going to go with Jimmy Garoppolo in this one. I'm going to take the words from the wise Dom DeRubeis and say the Raiders are just the least terrible or the least terrible of the two teams that's playing. And at the end of the day, the Patriots have no offensive mojo whatsoever. I think the last 3 games they were outscored like 75-3 or something crazy like that. Like, they have no mojo. They cannot do anything on offense. Even though the Raiders are not great, the Raiders still has Devontae Adams, still has Josh Jacobs. They have guys that actually can do something. The Patriots have nothing, pretty much. So, and you got Mac Jones over there. Listen, man, I got the Raiders because they're the least terrible team.
Raiders for least terrible. Las Vegas, Dom DeRubeis. Go.
I have the Raiders as well. I don't think the Patriots have anything. You know, it's funny. I don't think the Patriots have anything on the field that's better than what the Raiders do, which is not saying much. But this is also a matchup of Bill Belichick and one of the many broken twigs on his coaching tree, Josh McDaniels. But let me also say right now, these last 2 weeks, far and away my favorite era of Patriots football. Far and away. I called this Patriots team a last place team in the offseason. I'm sticking with it. They literally have nothing. And I'm really starting to question Bill Belichick's legacy because I think it was more Tom Brady than it was Belichick, which is crazy because Tom Brady, other than being clutch, just a game manager. Really, I think it was the potion of the two of them together. And also, let's not forget, several years before Brady actually finally left, Belichick wanted to move on to Garoppolo. And then Brady went and cried to the owner and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I've got the Raiders by more than 3.
Interesting you would say about the Patriot coach situation, and I'll let James go after this as well. Coach is and basically judged based off his constituents and his peers. And there's one person that he has had on his coaching staff that is being attributed to Brady's ascension. And he no longer is there, and he went to coach Notre Dame, and that's Charlie Weiss. And there's a lot of reason they say Brady became Brady after the tutelage of Belichick hiring Charlie Weiss. Just something to think about. But James Tatum, Patriots, Raiders. Oh, you already went.
I already went, bro.
You know what? You know what happened, guys? I'm sorry. My friend Ciroc and Watermelon came to me, but I'm going to go to Denzel. Go ahead and talk, buddy.
You all have heard me use this euphemism before, and I haven't in a while, so I'm just going to bring it back. Basically, this game is who's the shiniest toy in the dollar store. So, with that being said, the Raiders have a Devontae Adams, the Patriots don't. Give me Raiders 20-10.
You know what? I think we're all on board just because I think that Mac Jones' confidence is shot. I just think just like once your confidence is shot, I think his confidence is about as low as Micah Parsons was against the 49ers this past weekend. But I think that the Raiders, they have talent. They have talent on that squad. But they just don't have the right guidance. Max Crosby looks really good. Max Crosby is starting to kind of figure it out and gain traction. He made Green Bay look horrible. Can we not say if we actually had a game ball or MVP of the game, it would not be Max Crosby against the Packers? So I think it's going to be more of the same against Mac Jones and a team that literally is at an all-time low. And you have to think, and this is hilarious, we have the Patriots in infamy with Juju Smith-Schuster on the squad. That's crazy. Him going from Kansas City to this is like in basketball, the Warriors trading Jordan Poole to the Wizards. That's how bad it is right now in New England. And I got the Raiders winning it. So without further ado, we're going to go to the next game. Or maybe, I don't know. Dom, I want you to do this one.
Who, me?
Yeah,
Yes.
I want you to talk about it
Go
and
to
then give
me
your pick and
last.
we'll go after you. Okay, so we'll talk about the game. We got the Detroit Lions and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. James Tatum, Baker Mayfield is a guy that you have given compliments on over the course of our pick show and on the Gauntlet. The Detroit Lions, 4-1, and now are actually being looked at as a potential third team to maybe on a good day compete with your squad and the 49ers. Who do you have in this matchup?
I think this is such a great matchup. I think this is one of the best matchups of the week. Baker has kind of turned himself around a little bit. And I think this is a huge game because it's going to play a major role when it comes to seeding. Whoever wins this game is going to have the head-to-head. So I think that when you're looking at these two teams, these are the teams that are probably going to be looking at the third seed and the fourth seed. So whoever's going to get that higher seed is going to come down to this game. I think the way Detroit has been playing has been outstanding. Jahmyr Gibbs expect to miss a little bit of time. St. Brown was a little bit dinged up last week.
David Montgomery didn't look
So
bad.
I gotta say, they're a little bit dinged up there. So that's why I'm gonna pick Tampa to win this one, playing at home, riding the momentum that they've been on. Their only loss was against the Eagles. Tampa Bay is a good football team, so I'm gonna go with the Bucs here.
Okay. So, Jay, we know Dom said he wants to go last. So I ask you, Oklahoma Sooner or whoever, or is it California that Jared Goff went
You
to?
went to California. You went to Cal.
Go ahead. Who you got? West Coast or East Coast? Or Midwest? West Coast or Midwest?
When you look at both quarterbacks, I'm seeing now Goff is at 1,265 yards, 9 TDs, and 3 interceptions. Mayfield at 882 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 2 picks. So when it comes to the touchdown to interception ratio, they're kind of similar. I believe this will be a gunslinger duel. This is going to be the the shootout at the old NFC Central Saloon. But in this one, I'll take the Lions. I'm going to take the Lions by a field goal here. I will say 30-27, especially if Mike Evans comes back healthy. They're going to keep it close. Now, granted, yes, I mean, it's a coin flip, but since I have to make a pick, I'm going to go Lions on this one. 30-27. Lions roll.
All right. And so I'm going to finish it up before Dom takes on. Whoever wins the turnover battle, I think is going to win this game. And for me, I think the Lions are going to win this game because as much as funny thing is, I've always liked Baker.
Yep.
I've always because I understood who he was and why he would do some of the things he did. Like when he got the bad rap after, with the Hugh Jackson situation, he felt slighted because on Hard Knocks, he felt like he was humiliated. So a lot of this stuff is true. He got the Napoleon complex. I understand him. But when the pressure is on, I don't know if he has ascended to the level he needs to. And I feel like he's going to have to try to do a game-winning drive against the Detroit Lions. And I think that's where the crucial turnover comes in, and the Detroit Lions win this game. I do think I actually would take the Lions over on this one. So with that, you know what? I got the Lions. Dom, who do you have?
This is tough. A lot to unpack here. For one, I had this game circled as a win when I saw the schedule. I did not expect Tampa to be this good. For one. For two, that win at KC, really unexpected. And I'm afraid of the creamsicle jerseys. Like I literally want to flip a coin because if we lose, like we were talking about before the show, if we lose, it doesn't look as bad as it would have if Tampa was trash. I think we keep it rolling. I hope, like you said, JJ, I think it comes down to turnovers, and I trust Goff to commit less than Baker, although it hasn't looked that way this year, but it looks like another one of those games where in the game and Goff doesn't have to be perfect.
Okay. Fair enough.
So yeah, I got Lions.
Okay. You got the Lions. And so we all are on Lions except for James. So
Run it.
Or Mango. You or
Run
Mango.
it.
You or Mango. Either one.
Lone Wolf.
He's so cute. Oh, he's so adorable. Look at him. Okay. He's the lone wolf here. James is taking Baker Mayfield and riding that Boomer Sooner, baby. So now, I believe we have a couple of games left. We have the Cardinals at the Rams. The Rams improved to 500 with the possible win against these guys, with the guys get the Redbirds. Oh my gosh, Jay. I love these names, but I had to catch a little bit off the beginning. So the Rams, I think by a lot of people's accounts, look better than people imagined when they first had the season coming in. They have 2 wide receivers that are kind of the exact same mold. And Matthew Stafford loves guys like him. And so now not only do you have to factor in Puka Nacua, you got to factor in Cooper Kupp coming back. The Cardinals, another team that I think people thought they weren't going to win, but I think they thought that they were going to get blown out in all of their games, and they won a game, and they blew that team out. But in this NFC West battle, I don't know about that spread, but are you taking that spread, James Tatum?
No, I'm not taking that spread. I think it's a division game. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than that. But I'm going to go ahead and take the Rams to win, though. I think that the way they played last week really gave the Eagles offense, or the Rams offense gave the Eagles defense a little bit of issues in the first half, but they were completely shut down in the second half. They only had 99 yards in the second half total as an offense. But Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, they bring something to the table, and they can do a lot of damage. So they were getting the ball to Cooper Kupp early against the Eagles, and the Eagles adjusted to it. But I don't think that Jonathan Gannon is going to be able to adjust as well. He doesn't particularly adjust his defenses very well. So I think that the Rams are going to take care of business.
Sounds like a little proclamation you hoped he did against the Super Bowl. But,
Yeah.
There.
So.
Okay, but Dom, what do you got?
Rams by right around that spread of 7 points. I'm pretty sure everyone with a brain and eyes that, communicate had these two teams at the bottom of the division. I think they've both better than we thought. But Cooper Kupp, an early candidate for offensive rookie of the year.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, Rams probably.
What happened? Oh, did he freeze? What'd you say
your score was, Dom?
Dom's just having a lag.
Oh, he's having a lag.
24-17. 24-17.
Okay. Got it on a set. So, Puka Nacua and CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I think so. Not so good today.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, Denzel, Forrest Whitaker, Samuel Jackson, Morgan Freeman, Trevante Rhodes, Michael B. Jordan. Producer. Tell me what you got, buddy.
First off, I actually will give a shout out to the Cardinals because, they're a down team, but they do fight. They are out there trying. I know it seems like the Cowboys game was a long time ago, but there are people on that team that do know how to compete. So shout out to them on that one. The Cardinals have been the first provers that anything can happen, any given Sunday as far as NFL seasons go. With that being said, Puka Nacua, currently at 572 yards, is on pace for a 1,500-yard season. This man, just like Dom said, is an early favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year. And if I wasn't picking CJ Stroud, I definitely would go with this guy. With that said, Rams. Stafford's going to have to pick it up a little bit. He's at 5 TDs, 5 INTs. But, divisional game. I think the Cardinals will surprisingly keep it competitive, alluding to my first point. But I've got Rams in this one. I'm going to say Rams 26-20.
I got Cardinals covering, but I got the Rams winning. And I will say, I just think that this is going to be in these battles, you just never know. I don't think both teams. I think both teams are better than people give them credit for. But in the matchup like this, I think they just know each other so much that it's just going to be a deal. And I think it's hard enough to cover Cooper Kupp, but now you got to cover Puka Nacua, who is like they literally having the same ascension from Cooper Kupp's rise to Puka Nacua's rise. So I'm all in with the Cardinals covering, but the Rams winning. With that said, I think we have one more game left.
Three
more. Last one. Okay, well, let's get it going. The Eagles at Jets. So same thing. I think we all know that we think the Eagles are going to win. So taking that spread or not, James?
I'll go ahead and take the spread. I think the Eagles are finally going to have a complete game, get it together. Great matchup, though, between Sauce Gardner versus A.J. Brown. That is going to be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to it. but the Eagles are going to win.
James, you taking that spread? Jay Nelson, you taking that spread?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take it. I think the game is actually going to be surprisingly close. I got the Eagles, no doubt about it. But Zach Wilson has found confidence, and I think he has the potential to build off of that. With that being said, yeah, it's too much Eagles. But it's going to be closer, though. So I'm going to say 23-17 Eagles.
Okay, so you got Jets covering. Got it. Okay. Dom, you taking that spread?
No. Like Jay said, 5 or 6 points. I think the Eagles win, but not by 7. Somehow, some way. I almost want to pick the Jets, but I can't.
So I actually think it's a push. So I think they're going to win by 7. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles go over because I think Zach's about to come across in defense that's much like the Cowboys, but better. And I think that their defense, whenever you have a great defense, the best way to neutralize a great defense is if you can run the football. And what does Philly do? They run the football, which is why I think that I can see them pushing and going over. And they are my lock of the week. The Eagles.
The other thing is you can't really run against the Eagles defense. They have one of the best run defenses.
Agreed. Now we'll say Breece Hall he's a zone reading, he's a speedster, so we're gonna see it will be it's a task that can be completed, but he might surprise you. But I think Eagles lock of the week against the Jets.
Okay.
With that said, we are all in agreement with the Eagles. I think push, but we got another game. I think the Giants and the Bills. We agreed that we cannot use this as a lock of the week because it's a double-digit spread. However, real quick, taking a spread for the Bills or not?
Yeah, I'm taking it. I am.
The highest spread. Okay. Dom, you taking this? No. Jay, you taking the spread, Jay?
Yep, I'm taking it, definitely.
Dom?
Sound lag?
Are you on a lag, Dom?
Yeah. Because I can't imagine how the Giants keep it closer than 14. But I'm not taking the spread because, like Jay said earlier, a spread this big is so rare. Like, it's still the NFL. Like, obviously, Bills in a massacre, but somehow only by 13 points. Then give up a bunch of garbage points.
Okay. I agree. I'm going to take the spread in the sense of – actually, I think I'm going to take the spread in the sense of I think Buffalo's mad about how they let that happen with Jacksonville, and they're going to take it out on the New York Giants. And the Giants can't block a dang thing. Now, Daniel Jones, I was surprised, did not look horrible against the Dolphins, but the Bills' defense is a really great defense, even without having a Jordan Poyer or a Micah Hyde or a Tre'Davious White. I think they're going to cover this spread. I got them winning.
Miami's defense also isn't good.
True. I got it 40-7.
All right, last one, baby.
Last one. We got the Cowboys at the Chargers. I want to let Dom do this one because if there's two teams he also considers perennial choke artists,
worst nightmare.
They are facing each other. Perennial choke artists, Charger going Charger, Dakota Prescott. Who you got? This is good. Dom, don't agonize over it.
I think he is.
He's like, do I have to?
He's just looking. He's just like,
It's like the episode of South Park where they had the class election and you had to vote.
There's equal factors working.
Okay.
Right.
Factors working.
So many factors working against everyone. Like, you've got the Chargers because Chargers. Then you've got the Cowboys on the road in prime time. Jeez.
Well,
I guess I'm taking the Chargers, not charging for once, only because it's Dak in prime time.
are you sure it's a home game though? Because the Chargers have absolutely no home field
And
advantage.
it's
The Cowboy fans are going to take over the Chargers, just like
True.
the Eagles last week took over the Rams.
True. Cowboy fan base does travel well.
So it's more or less of a home game.
But okay. So you say you got the Chargers. You know what? James Tatum, your NFC East rival.
I gotta be honest with you guys. I'm picking the Cowboys this week. I think that
I don't even know why.
I think when you look at the Cowboys situation that they're in, they lost by 30-something points to the 49ers, which I think was a little bit unexpected. I didn't always expect the 49ers to win, but the embarrassing performance by Dallas was very concerning. And when you look down the stretch of games that the Cowboys have coming up, they have this game against the Chargers. Then the next week, they're going to have a game against the Rams in Dallas. Then they're going to have a bye week. And then they're going to play Philadelphia. So this has a potential to break or make their season. So I feel like this game against the Chargers is a must win. So it has to be a good performance for Dak. The team has to be on the right track. And the Chargers, I think, are really not that much impressive of a team. So this is a team that the Cowboys should be able to win, and having that fans support them in this game, I think, is a huge bonus for them. So I think that Dallas wins this game, and they have to win this game, or they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, to your point, it's not looking good if they don't win this game. But Jay Nelson, Cowboys, Chargers.
All right. I gotta make my pick, and then I gotta vote for confidential.
Yeah.
But I gotta pick the Chargers. Eckler announced that he's 99% sure he's playing in this game. Now, how's he gonna be is anyone's guess. If I had to pick, I'm gonna take the side that he actually has a decent game. Maybe not a game where he goes off like he normally does, but he has a decent game. I like Justin Herbert over Dak Prescott in this one. There's questions about the Cowboys defense, because now the perception is going to be, well, the defense beat up on bad teams, but when faced with an elite offense, they got steamrolled. So, you lost to Brock Purdy and company. Then you come across Justin Herbert, who's not a bad passer. The guy won the passing title just 2 years ago, and then the rest of the Chargers offense. Now, granted, yes, they're not going to have Mike Williams. They lost him for the year, but they still got Keenan Allen as long as he's healthy. I've got the Bolts. I've got it close, though. I do have it close. I'm going to say Chargers 28-26.
Okay. Well, as you know, Jay, thank you for coming on. As always, our horseman who's got a lot going on. He really is Denzel Snipes. He really has so many things going on. Now you come back. We'll see you next week, bro.
All right, then, y'all be easy. I'll catch y'all
on Friday, actually, not next week.
You see? There you go. See you on Friday. There you go. See you on Friday. Maybe not me next week until next week. I don't know. I'm just playing. So with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and do real quick. I've got the Chargers because I think that if you can run the football, you have a best chance of taking Dallas' defense down. And I think with Austin Eckler coming back, they really want to get him involved. And I think they're going to get him in the running game, the passing game. And the linebackers, they have questions as well with Dallas because we don't know what happened with LVE. If he's going to come back, it's going to be anything. But even then, this type of loss against the 49ers could actually be the one that defeats you psychologically. And I don't know if I trust the Cowboys' resolve to come back from this. So I got the Chargers winning this game. I got them winning 28-24. So that, ladies and gentlemen, once again, for everyone that was on YouTube, for everyone that was on my Facebook, we appreciate you guys, and we all love you guys. Thank you for coming and to check us out on our weekly pick show. I'm going to pass it to my guys. Any last words?
Nope. We'll see you on Friday, guys. Going to have a good show for the Gauntlet, so really excited about that. And see you next week. for more picks.
All right, so our Philadelphia Inquirer is actually kind of saying, nope, no comments. I'm good. It's used this week. Detroit Free Press, what you got? Any last words? He has last words, but his internet is saying, hold on, let's wait.
Huh?
Okay, I guess I was saying, do you have any last words? Like anything for the group, anybody that's showing up?
No, good to still be in first place by 2 games and a tiebreaker. That's it.
All right, everybody. It is just before 8 o'clock. Please tune in.
My internet
Subscribe
blows tonight for some reason.
It's all good, buddy. It's all love here. Subscribe to Philly Gym so you can catch the Gauntlet and recaps of our episodes of the NFL picks. Come back and see what's up with us, everybody. Thanks again so much for coming in.
Go Phillies.